Magic College teacher Gojo Satoru talks to the bound protagonist Itadori Yuji. Satoru informs Yuji that they will execute him soon since he has become the vessel of the curse King Ryomen Sukune. In order to clarify everything, we are transported back a few days. Itadori Yuji is a 15-year-old super strong student from Sagisawa High School who has no parents but a grandfather who is in the hospital. The guy also likes the occult, and therefore he attends an occult club at school, where he and his 2-week-old friends Eguchi and Sasaki do various strange spiritualistic and not-so things. Also, due to his unusual physical characteristics, the local physical education teacher is hunting for Itadori so that the boy will compete for the school at the sports championship. However, Itadori still prefers to engage in the occult, and therefore the physical education teacher technically corrected Itadori's application and himself enrolled the guy in the athletic club. And now, due to the fact that the occult club is officially short of people, the school president has come to close the club and turn their room into a girls' locker room. The occultists, of course, try to excuse themselves by saying that they were here investigating a strange incident on the rugby field, where a spirit might be living, because of which the whole team fell ill. But the president said that the team got sick not from the spirits, but from ordinary ticks. After all this, Itadori began to insist that he be enrolled in the occult club. However, in response, the coach offered him a fair competition. If the physical education teacher wins, then Itadori will compete at the championship. But if Itadori wins, then he will remain in the club with his psychos. They ended up holding a steel ball throwing competition. The physical education teacher threw the ball 14 meters, and Itadori sent the ball 20 meters. As a result, the guy won and remained in his psycho club. Meanwhile, a Magic College student, Fushiguro Megumi, came to pick up the cursed artifact, who, as it turned out later, took Itadori and gave it to his occult friends. And when Itadori, after defeating the physical education teacher, headed at breakneck speed to his grandfather in the hospital, Fushiguro felt a strong cursed energy emanating from Itadori, and he realized that he had the cursed object. But since the boy is local Usain Bolt, Fushiguro could not catch up with him. Next, Itadori bought flowers for his grandfather, but he was very dissatisfied, since they cannot be drunk or smoked. After which the grandfather wanted to tell Itadori the truth about his parents, but the boy stopped him, and therefore the grandfather said that Itadori should not make the mistakes of his grandfather and help people, because then he would be able to end his life correctly, surrounded by loved ones. And since Itadori had no parents since childhood, his grandfather was his only relative. The grandfather's words sank very deeply into Itadori's soul, and he made them his goal in life. But after these words, the grandfather decided to unexpectedly go to the next world. When Itadori signed all the necessary documents for the cremation of his grandfather, Fushiguro came to him, and from him the boy learned that the object he made from a wooden box without a lock turned out to be the strongest cursed relic of a special level. Fushiguro explained that to ward off curses that arise from people's negative emotions, magicians use relics that have seals on them. But the relics themselves are pure evil, which with their power and seal wards off other weak curses. But if you remove the seal, the reverse process will start, which on the contrary will attract a curse. Realizing this, Itadori said that his friends at school now have the relic, and since the relic had an old seal on it, which had already weakened greatly, Sasaki and Eguchi removed it without any problems, and curses began to appear from different places. This relic was one of the 20 fingers of the four-armed curse King Ryomen Sukune. And now realizing that the guys were in great danger, Itadori and Fushiguro went to school. But they were late, so Fushiguro immediately entered the school, and he asked Itadori to stay outside for his own safety. However, when Fushiguro found the guys who had already begun to be devoured by a strong curse, Itadori flew through the window, and remembering his grandfather's words, he attacked the curse with technique 667 and snatched out his friends. And then Fushiguro destroyed the curse and fed it to his hound Shikigami, created from the shadows. After which Itadori said that he had never seen ghosts before, and this greatly surprised Fushiguro, since the curse can be seen by people with cursed energy or at moments when they are in danger of leaving for another world. It turns out that Itadori fell under the second option. As Itadori was getting up with Sasaki in his arms, a finger fell out of his pocket and the boy grabbed it. Fushiguro immediately explained that this was the same cursed relic of a special level, or rather one of the 20 fingers of the king of curses Ryomen Sukuna. And having heard the story about how a curse is expelled by another curse or cursed energy, the gourmet Itadori asked, if he eats this 1,000-year-old finger, will he receive the cursed energy? Fushiguro replied that most likely yes, but the guy would become possessed, and therefore Fushiguro asked to urgently return the relic to him out of harm's way. But when Itadori extended his finger, another curse attacked them from the ceiling and grabbed Fushiguro, and then threw him against the wall, which is why his Shikigami disappeared. Fushiguro immediately asked Itadori not to interfere, because without the cursed energy he would not be able to do anything to this curse. However, when the curse once again overtook Fushiguro on the street, Itadori appeared and said that he would not forgive himself if he abandoned a person in trouble. Itadori began to fight the curse, and in the next moment after the blow, Itadori's finger flew out of his hands, and in order not to lose it, he grabbed it with his teeth. Then the curse began to stuff Itadori into its mouth. And in order not to lose, the guy decided to eat the relic finger in order to also receive the cursed energy. After a disgusting dinner, cursed marks appeared on Itadori's body, and 2 more eyes appeared. His body was taken over by Sukuna. After which the cursed one destroyed the curse with 1 blow, and began shouting to everyone about his sadistic tendencies. Fushiguro turned to stone from everything he saw, because now, according to magical laws, he will have to expel the possessed. However, then unexpectedly Itadori begins to control half of his body, and then he completely took control of the body from Sukuna, which made the cursed marks disappear. After which the local one-shoulder Gojo Satoru appeared. He is Fushiguro's teacher, and he is also the most powerful magician of this time. Satoru came here after the excursion to pick up the cursed object, which is now inside Itadori. In this regard, Satoru was very surprised, since Itadori was able to overcome such a strong curse. Then the teacher decided to test Itadori and asked him to switch places with Sukuna for 10 seconds, and after the time had passed, return back. Itadori did so, and Satoru began to attack with the furious force of Sukuna. However, the demon destroyed half the school, but they hit the teacher, and after 10 seconds Itadori was able to regain control of his body. After that, Satoru put Itadori to sleep and said that if this kid comes to his senses and does not give up his body to Sukuna, then he can be considered the official vessel of the King of Curses. He also asked Fushiguro what they should do with him now. Fushiguro said that even though according to the rules they should execute him, he doesn't want this guy to go to another world. Then the teacher said that he would help save it. When Itadori came to his senses, we were shown the very moment from the beginning of the anime, where Satoru told the guy who the 4-armed, 2-faced king of curses Ryomen Sukuna was, who after leaving for another world, the magicians divided into parts, but could not destroy them, and therefore one of the 20 fingers and is located inside Itadori. In fact, he became the vessel of the King of Curses, and if the vessel goes to another world, then the curse or part of it will also be destroyed. So the cowardly elders ordered Itadori to be executed immediately, but Satoru offered them an alternative, and now the guy has 2 options. The first option, he will be executed right now, or the second option, Itadori will have to eat all 20 fingers, and only then will he be executed. Also in the second option, Itadori will be able to help humanity destroy the King of Curses, since Sukuna himself will be destroyed along with Itadori. Satoru also explained that he stood up for the boy, since in 1,000 years Itadori was the first who could become a vessel for the King of Curses. While Itadori was pondering the answer, they visited the hospital where Eguchi and Sasaki were injured. Next, they visited the crematorium where the grandfather was cremated. And when Itadori collected his grandfather's ashes, he asked Satoru, "What will happen if Sukuna is gone? Will fewer people suffer?" Satoru replied that yes, definitely less. Then Itadori agreed to eat all of Sukuna's fingers. But what happens next? He will depend on the situation. Itadori ate the second finger and also overcame Sukuna without any problems. Afterwards, they met a bandaged Fushiguro and went to Tokyo Magic College. When Itadori and Satoru arrived at the college, the teacher explained that he was the strongest magician of all time, and even Sukuna with his full power should not cause him much trouble. In turn, Sukuna began to make fun of Satoru, but he ignored him. Next, Itadori had an interview with director Yaga, who is a master of puppet techniques. There, Itadori was damaged by the director's dolls, and since Itadori said that he wanted to fight curses and save people at the request of his grandfather who had gone to another world, Yaga said that magicians without normal motivation often face going to another world and not always themselves. And if they came here on someone's orders, then most often such magicians blame everyone but themselves for their departure to another world, which is why he refused Itadori admission. However, Itadori in response twisted the doll and said that now he does not know how he will go to another world, but he knows for sure that only he can absorb Sukuna, and he does not want to live with regrets that he did not do this and did not save thousands of people. After these words, the director changed his mind and accepted Itadori into the first year. Next, Satoru showed the guy his room and said that all fingers have a different aura, and since Itadori is a vessel, Sukuna himself will help them with the search. Afterwards, they met Fushiguro, who was treated with a reverse technique. And tomorrow they will meet the third first year, the evil, pretty girl Kujisaki Nobara. Next, after they met Kujisaki, Satoru decided to give the newcomers Kujisaki and Itadori a small test to test their current strength level. To do this, they went to Roppongi, where the curse would need to be destroyed in a building near the cemetery. Also there, Satoru asked Itagori not to use Sukuna's power, and he gave him the cursed blade. Itagori and Kujisaki split up inside the building. Itagori destroyed his curse on the lower floors, and Kujisaki came across a mannequin curse that captured the boy, causing Kujisaki to suddenly remember her childhood friend Saori. Then the freed Itadori suddenly appeared and damaged the hand of the curse with the cursed blade and freed the boy. And then Kujisaki, using her voodoo and resonance techniques, destroyed the fleeing curse. It turns out that Kujisaki, with the help of a magic college, successfully moved to Tokyo from her village. She also wants to see her friend Saori, who now lives in Tokyo, and they have not seen each other for 10 years. As a result, the guys sent the rescued boy home, and after that Satoru praised everyone and they went to dinner. Meanwhile, a cursed belly of a special level appeared above the juvenile colony, and due to the lack of free high-ranking magicians, first-year Itagori, Kujisaki, and Fushiguro were sent on this mission. There are several levels of curses, and to match the strength we will use Itadori and various items. For the fourth level of the curse, half the power of Itadori or an ordinary bat will be enough. For the third level, you will need approximately 2 Itadori or 1 pistol. For the second level, approximately 5 to 7 Itadori or 1 shotgun. For the first level, there are approximately 50 Itadori or 1 tank. Well, for a special level of curses, you will need about 100 or more Itadori or a tenth of Gojo Satoru. Logically, magicians of equal or even higher level, such as Satoru Gojo, are sent to such strong curses, but he is now on a business trip. In connection with this, Idzidi brought the guys up to date. He also asked not to engage in battle when meeting with the curse, since they were currently going on reconnaissance, but to protect the nearest areas, Idzidi placed a barrier around the colony. The guys went inside the building and discovered a technique for unfinished expansion of the territory, which was used by the curse, and therefore the 2-story building inside and out turned into a gigantic labyrinth. Next, the guys discovered the remains of 3 of the 5 hostages who were captured by the curse. One of them was Tadashi, whose mother did not leave the colony. Itadori immediately offered to return the bodies to their loved ones, but Fushiguro said that they did not have time for this now. And while they were discussing this, Kujisaki was pulled into the portal, and the white hound Fushiguro, which he had summoned to detect the curse, was destroyed in the wall. Immediately after this, a curse appeared in front of the guys, consuming Sukun's finger, and its power was very high. During the attack, Itadori lost his hand along with the blade, and inside himself he turned to Sukuna for help, but he said that if the guy needed help so much, then Sukuna was ready to start his entertainment with Fushiguro and Kujisaki. In this connection, Itagori asked Fushiguro to urgently find Kujisaki and leave the building, because when they were already on the street, he would change places with Sukuna. Fushiguro agreed to this and went downstairs to get Kujisaki. However, Sukuna, realizing all this, decided to refuse Itadori's help. In his opinion, it would be better if these 10% go to another world with Itadori, because he also has 18 more fingers where his soul lives. As a result, Fushiguro found Kujisaki and saved her from a 1,000-year curse, and calling a black hound, They found a way out of the building and gave a signal to Itadori, after which Kujisaki was sent to the hospital, and Fushiguro remained to wait for Itadori. He also asked everyone to evacuate within 10 kilometers due to the appearance of Sukun. And at the same time, the finger curse strongly attacked Itadori, causing him to lose the fingers on his second hand. And when Itadori heard the signal, he immediately swapped with Sukuna without agreement. However, during the period while he was fighting with the spirit, his moral side was greatly weakened, from which the guy even began to blame his grandfather for setting him up, and now he is in mortal danger. In general, Itadori became sad when he met a very strong spirit for which he was not prepared. By the way, director Yaga spoke about this during the interview. As a result, Sukuna, having taken possession of the body, immediately began to think about how he could teach Itadori a lesson for this trick, and he decided to bring the curse finger with him to destroy the escaped children. However, the curse began to attack him in response, causing Sukuna to restore Itadori's lost limbs using a reverse technique. Next, he began to mock the curse by damaging his hands and dividing it into parts. After which he decided to show him what real magic was, and he used his technique of expanding the territory of the demonic tomb, being in which Sukuna greatly increases his strength. After which he divided the curse into equal pieces, took his finger out of its chest, and then after frying it, made a donor out of it. Next, he turned to Itadori so that they could switch places, but the guy did not answer, and then Sukuna decided to mind his own business. He went outside and found Fushiguro. Sukuna told him that Itadori swapped with him without any agreement, and now he cannot go back, but this is temporary. Therefore, Sukuna, taking advantage of the moment, took out Itagori's heart and took the guy hostage, since without a heart Sukuna can exist without problems. But if Itadori in this state changes places with him, then he will immediately go to another world. In addition to this, Sukuna ate the resulting third finger. Sukuna then began attacking Fushiguro with full force. Fushiguro continued to believe that Itadori would return, since his character would not give in. However, Sukuna began to pinpoint Fushiguro into everything he could. He also destroyed Orochi's Shikigami and nearly destroyed Nu's Shikigami. And when Fushiguro was already very bad, we were shown his memories, from which it became clear that his sister was struck by an unknown curse, and he himself continued to pursue justice, although in his opinion, this was illogical. Fushiguro also tried to reach Itadori. He also shared with Itadori that when he saved him from execution, he was not a hero, he was simply pursuing justice. However, he will never regret that he was saved then. After these words, Itadori suddenly changes places with Sukuna. He says that now he won't have to worry about the safety of Fushiguro and Kujisaki, and since he was missing a heart, Itadori went straight to the morgue. Also, from the conversation between Sukuna and Fushiguro, it became clear that the king has some hidden plans for Fushiguro, but we were not told what. Next, we were shown the meeting of the cursed shaman Jito Shuguru and the curse of the volcano Juzo, Hanami, and Dagono. This gang gathered to discuss their plan to eliminate all people. Juzo considers curses to be real people, because there is no falsehood in spirits, unlike living people, so his goal is to destroy the vile likeness of people. However, Jito stopped him, since now the curses have no chance, and in order to fix this, two conditions must be met. The first condition is that the strongest of the magicians, Goji Satara, must be eliminated, and Guido already has a plan to seal him on October 31st using a special prison item kingdoms. And the second condition is that you need to lure Sukun and Itagori Yuji to your side. After which Juzo decided to show how strong he was and began to burn everything around this restaurant. According to Guido, his strength is comparable to Sukun's 9 fingers. Juzo also took the prison kingdom for himself, but said that most likely he would destroy Satoru without it. Meanwhile, Itadori's body was brought to the morgue, and Satoru Gojo and Ajiki arrived there, who began to explain how this happened to Itadori. Satoru immediately realized that this was part of the elders' plan to execute Itadori, and they took advantage of the moment of his teacher's absence. Also, Satoru, in anger, wanted to destroy all the elders, but Ieri appeared and said that it is not so often that one can see Satoru's emotions. Apparently, he became very attached to this guy. Ieri arrived here to perform an autopsy on Itadori. At this time, Fushiguro and Kujisaki discussed Itadori's departure to another world. They were joined by second-year Zenin Maki along with Panda and caster Inumaki Toad. Afterwards, Fushiguro told Kujisaki about the second years. Zenin Maki is the best at wielding cursed weapons and objects. Inumaki is a caster who, for general safety, pronounces words only from the composition of onigiri, and also a panda, of course not kung fu, but also very strong. There is also Yuta Akatsu, and he is the only student whom Fushiguro openly respects. The second-year students came here to invite the guys to an experience exchange program with the Kyoto Magic College. This will be an informal meeting for 2 days. On the first day, there will most likely be team competitions, and on the second day, there will be individual competitions. The second-year students invited them because, due to the lack of tops, they do not have enough people. In addition to this, at the meeting, they will be able to improve the strength of the first years. As a result, the guys agreed to do this for Itadori's sake and to become stronger. Next, we were transported inside Itadori, where a guy in Sukuna's personal domain wanted to attack him for destroying him. But Sukuna offered him an agreement, and if he accepted it, then Sukuna would restore his body, since they still had not gone to the other world. But Itadori said that Sukuna was pushing with all her might and trying to survive. However, the damned one said that now everything has changed and it has something to do with Fushiguro. It turns out that Sukuna has 2 conditions. The first is that after the word expansion, Itadori transfers control of his body to him for 1 minute. And the second is that Itadori must forget this whole conversation when he wakes up. But Itadori refused, since it was too dangerous to enter into an agreement with such an old freak. Sukuna responded by saying that in addition he would not touch or destroy anyone during this minute, it would be a pact, and if Sukuna breaks it, he himself will suffer. It turned out that when they first met, Sukuna also wanted to take over his body, but since there was an agreement with Satoru, it was beneficial to both, and this is how the magical world works. But Itadori, like a man, asked the damned one to resurrect him without conditions because he himself destroyed him. Then Sukuna proposed a one-on-one fight, where if he wins, Itadori will accept his terms. And when Itadori agreed, Sukuna defeated him in a split second. Meanwhile, in a conversation between Satoru and Ajiki, Satoru said that his dream is to reboot this magical world, and this can only be done by destroying the supreme government. However, in this case, most likely no one will follow him. So he got a job at a college in order to raise the right generation, because his students will be strong and smart comrades. He also mentioned the talented Akatsu, third-year student Hikari, as well as Itadori. When Ieri decided to start the autopsy, Itadori was resurrected. Everyone was naturally shocked. Then Satoru asked Ieri and Ajiki not to tell anyone that Itadori was alive for now, since he wanted to take advantage of the moment and train the fighter. Satoru wants to teach Itadori how to control the cursed energy, and in fact it was super cruel training, where Yuji had to watch a movie, and at the same time gradually pour cursed energy into the doll. If he stopped doing this, then this doll that Yaga made would attack him. Satoru also asked Yuji if he spoke with the damned one during his departure to another world, and what he offered him. Itadori replied that he seemed to be talking, but he didn't remember anything. While Itadori was studying, Satoru was attacked by Juzo on his way to college. However, not one of his attacks caught the teacher, because Satoru owns 2 rare techniques at once. The Gojo clan's Limitless technique, which opens an endless flow of cursed energy, and the 6 Eyes technique, with which he can see through the blindfold and can even see Sukuna in Yuji's body. It is believed that this combination of techniques has been encountered for the first time in 1,000 years. Then Satoru, with his techniques, easily destroyed this special level curse. Juzo remembered Gato's words. If he went solo against Satoru, he would be defeated, and so he decided to use his expansion of territory. In this regard, we were shown a moment where Satoru, noticing that Itadori was learning quickly, decided to take him to a new level and show his technique for expanding the territory. He somehow teleported Itadori to this battle, and together they fell into Juzo's expansion technique. At the same time, Satoru told Itadori what this technique was, and Juzo attacked them with powerful attacks that did no damage. After which Satoru used his Immense Abyss technique for expanding territories, in which opponents can see and feel an endless flow of information, but they cannot cope with it and go to another world because they cannot move. Next, Satoru threw Juzo's head out to play a game of answer questions correctly to survive with him. Also watching their battle from the side were Gido and Hanami. And since Satoru should not see Gido's face, Hanami distracted Satoru and Itadori with his flower technique, grabbed Juzo's head, and disappeared with him. Meanwhile, Gido entered some apartment, where behind the door there was a portal to a paradise island in which Mahito was waiting for him. Gido said that now after Juzo it became clear to everyone that they could not defeat Satoru, so on October 31, they will seal him. At this moment, Todo and Mai Zenin, the twin sister of Maki Zenin, accosted Fushiguro and Kujizaki. Todo and Mai arrived here with their grandfather, the director of the Kyoto College of Magic. Now Todo wants to find out who is replaced by the talented Okatsu, but Mai came simply to gloat about the destruction of Itadori, because he is the Jinchuriki of Sukuna, and Mai also loves the words vessel. Next, Todo asked Fushiguro what kind of girls he liked, and Todo himself replied that he liked tall girls with big nuts, like Jennifer Lawrence. And now, depending on the answers, Fushiguro can turn into a chop. After Todo introduced himself, Fushiguro replied that the girl's appearance is not important to him. The main thing is that she has unshakable principles. Then Todo considered Fushiguro boring, and he hates such people, so Todo began to break the walls with Fushiguro's face. Mai took over Kujisaki and began attacking her with rubber bullets. However, the guys were saved by the spellcaster Inumaki, who appeared a little late, along with the panda and Maki, who saved Kujisaki. It also turned out that Maki does not have cursed energy, so she uses cursed weapons, and to see the cursed, she wears special glasses. And since in the Zenin clan people without cursed energy are not considered people, Maki wants to prove them wrong and become the head of the clan. Meanwhile, Satoru arrived at the meeting of directors instead of Yaga, who, through Ejiki, detained Director Yaga. Satoru told his grandfather that after the incident with Gido, who turns out to be Satoru and Aeri's classmate, he was also Yaga's student. Satoru thinks that the incident with Itadori is also the work of the elders, and thus the elders are trying to suppress the growing power in the face of the new generation. And since there are now a lot of capable students, Satoru, as a prominent representative of the opposition, not a single one will rebel, and soon the new generation will change all the idiotic traditions and foundations. Well, having spoken, Satoru left and said that Director Yaga will be in a couple of hours. Next, we were shown Mahito having fun at a movie theater in Kawasaki City. There he was seen by a guy named Junpei Yoshino, since Mahito, in front of the guy's eyes, destroyed 3 of his classmates who bullied Junpei at school and put out cigarettes on his forehead. However, instead of being scared, the boy became interested in Mahito's power, and having caught up with him, asked how he could also get similar power. As a result, Mahito realized that Junpei was indifferent to destruction due to psychological trauma from bullying at school, and the curse showed him its experiments on shrinking and enlarging people. In general, Mahito begins to manipulate the guy and pushes him to take revenge, and for his part, promises all possible support. Well, for Junpei now only the life of his mother, who raised him alone, is important. Next, Mahito brings the guy up to date and tells him about his friends with curses created out of people's fear of natural phenomena. Well, Junpei thinks that he has found a friend who understands him and does not hate him. Also, in parallel with this, Itadori and his temporary mentor Nanami, who is Satoru's friend, arrive to investigate the case at the cinema. During the investigation, Nanami teaches Itadori to find the curse traces left behind. They also destroy several curses on the roof, which, after opening, turn out to be people who went to another world from shock after the forced transformation of their bodies. Mahito did all this since he sees souls and can change their shape, and therefore the essence of a person changes. From the specially left traces, Nanami understood where to look for the curse from the cinema. He also realized that this was a trap, so he sent Itadori and the arriving Ejiki to interrogate the guy Junpei from the cinema for now, since from the cameras they realized that he had seen something. So the guys need to find an approach to the boy and interrogate him. To do this, they came up with a plan with a level 4 curse, but through a series of accidents and the class teacher's pants coming off, Itadori talked to the guy. At the same time, Nanami reached Mahito's lair and began to fight with him. Nanami protected his body from Mahito's transformation with his cursed energy, and when his working time ran out, he attacked with full force, and using a partial expansion of the territory, threw fragments of the wall onto the spirit, and then retreated due to the damage received. Well, Mahito remained intact, since even if he was sprayed, he could recover by absorbing the cursed energy. Meanwhile, Itadori and Junpei became friends, and then met the boy's mother, and she invited Itadori to have dinner with them. There they talked about human values, where unlike Junpei, Itadori values human lives. Further, after Itadori left, Junpei's mother was attacked by a curse due to the fact that someone left Sukuna's cursed finger in their apartment. And after talking with Mahito, who said that the finger is a relic that attracts a curse here, and thus some cursed masters earn a lot of money, and it turns out that Junpei or his mother crossed the path of someone rich. In connection with this, Junpei loses his mind, and having received a cursed spirit from Mahito, as well as accelerated training in spirit control, Junpei goes to take revenge at the school, where they are presenting an undeserved award to Major Shoto no Todoroki. There the guy uses his damned spirit and puts everyone to sleep except his class teacher, who, knowing about the bullying of the boy, did nothing. Junpei showed him the burns on his forehead. He also left the major in the mind, and having poisoned him with his spirit, he began to ask him questions. And at this time, Mahito created a cursed curtain over the school, so that no one could escape from here, but you can enter it. At the same time, Nanami told Itadori about the destruction of Junpei's mother, but did not tell him about Sukuna's finger found there. And when Itadori found out about the veil at school, bypassing all the prohibitions from Nanami and Ijichi associated with Mahito's patchwork spirit, Itadori came running to school and saw Junpei torturing the major. Due to this, Nanami left his assignment for Ino and also went to school. Meanwhile, Junpei and Itadori began to fight with all their might. Itadori first threw Junpei out onto the street with blows, and threw him back with the same blows. Then they had a heart-to-heart talk, and Itadori even invited the guy to go to their magic college. And to prove to the guy that he would not leave him, Itadori refused to continue the fight, which is why he missed 2 attacks from Junpei. Immediately after this, Mahito appeared, and after Itadori began screaming for Junpei to run away, since this was pure evil in front of him. Junpei finally realized who he had been communicating with all this time. Well, Mahito called Junpei a fool. Then he transformed him and set him on Itadori. In turn, the student began to turn to Sukuna so that he would return Junpei to his normal state with his reverse techniques. However, Sukuna and Mahito, who heard this, simply began laughing in unison. Sukuna also realized that Itadori had completely forgotten about their agreement. Well, Mahito did all this to force Itadori to enter into an agreement with Sukuna, and then he plans to lure Sukuna himself to his side. However, Itadori stood in a stupor for a couple of seconds and began to attack Mahito with unreal force, and he began to feel the damage. However, in response, the spirit managed to damage the guy's hands and body, and after using an inner transformation, Mahito touched the soul and fell into the possession of Sukuna. The king was at a loss as to how he dared to come here, but since they both laughed at the boy, for the first time he forgives him. When we were returned to reality, Itadori began to attack Mahito with his head, but the spirit again changed its form and counterattacked Itadori. However, Nanami appeared and repelled this blow. Afterwards, Itadori brought the teacher up to date. Also seeing the red liquid on Mahito, he asked Itadori to tell him where the spirit got such damage. Itadori explained that it was from his blows. After which Nanami realized that either the spirit did not want to destroy Itadori, or his technique did not work for him because of Sukuna. Now, according to the plan, Nanami wants to immobilize the spirit so that Itadori will continue to attack him. Mahito realized this and decided to distract Itadori. He sent several transformed people to him, whom the guy had to destroy as a result. Next, Itadori and Nanami together began to attack the spirit. After which Mahito used his expansion of the territory's self-embodiment of the ideal on Nanami. It turned out that Nanami's weak side is the hit in expanding the territory, since he himself cannot yet fully use it. In this connection, Nanami remembered how, after working for a magic college, he started working at the stock exchange for money and accepting people there. But routine and lack of gratitude returned him to magical pursuits, and having received a large portion of gratitude in his life, Nanami is even ready was to go to another world in this area. However, unexpectedly, Itadori broke it from the outside, which means that Sukuna also got inside, where his soul came into contact with Mahito's soul, and he did not give him a second chance and divided it into a Mahito, from which his technique was destroyed, and this saved Nanami. After which Mahito decided to take on his giant form, but Itadori attacked him with a divergent fist and his form burst, and he crawled into the sewer like a worm. Mahito managed to escape, and he also respected Sukuna because of his strongest aura, and he now wants to destroy Itadori. After this incident, we were already shown the cured Itadori and Nanami, where the teacher said that he would not reprimand Itadori since he saved his life. But Itadori said that it was not him who should be thanked, but Sukuna, since it was he who destroyed Mahito. He also said that today was the first time he had destroyed a person. Nanami said that he is now a real magician, and there are many people ahead of him who need help. After us, they returned to the school, where Shoto now can't use his hand because of the poison, but the freak teacher wasn't particularly hurt. But Itadori, after all these events, decided for himself that until he understands what the correct departure from life is, which his grandfather spoke about, Itadori will not lose to anyone again. Next, we were shown a meeting between Gido, Mahito, and Juzo, whose body was restored. He also noticed that Mahito was worse for wear since his plan with the hostage didn't work. And now Mahito, having met Sukuna, decided that it was better for them to just stick to Gido's plan. And now, according to his plan, they need to get 6 fingers, which are located in Tokyo Magic College. They need their fingers to test how much Itadori can hold inside himself until he breaks. They also suggested that the magical leadership was unlikely to give up Itadori's fingers until they had collected them all. There is only one exception. This is Satoru Gojo, who is the only one ready to feed the guy all his fingers right now. It turns out that Gito has already thought of this. The last finger that was in Junpei's apartment will help them with this. Meanwhile, Satoru and Nanami were discussing this particular finger. Nanami said that Itadori still doesn't know about him. Then Itadori himself appeared with a frantic desire to see his friends. But Satoru said that you can't just show up, so they will make a surprise. Around this time, Tokyoites gathered for an event to be held in Tokyo. Next, the students of the Kyoto school appeared with their teacher Yori Yutaheim. Afterwards, Satoru appeared with a cart and said that he was abroad and began distributing souvenirs to Kyoto students. Well, for the people of Tokyo, he brought a cart in which Itadori was hidden. Everyone was shocked, but the surprise turned out to be as strange as possible. The director grandfather also saw Sukun's vessel and was shocked to learn that he was still alive. Then they announced the beginning of the event, and the start will be at noon. According to the rules, on the first day there will be a team race for the second level curse, and whose team will banish it first will win. There will also be other weaker curses in the territory, for which points will be awarded. If the main curse is not expelled in time, then the team with high points for expelling curses will win. Meanwhile, the director said that they need to destroy Sukun's vessel, since in his opinion he is no longer human, and they need to make everything look like it was an accident. But in the next moment, Todo freaked out because he was being ordered here, and everyone else decided to unite and attack Itadori at once and immediately destroy him. Next, we were shown a meeting of the Tokyo school, the plan of which changed slightly due to the appearance of Itadori, who would be sent to detain Toda, because most likely he would decide to attack them solo, and everyone else was divided into 2 teams. At the same time, Satoru called Aori to talk in the staff room. He said that there are traitors in their schools. Satoru realized this after the appearance of several special level curses, and now he wants his Iori to start an investigation in her college. As a result, the start was announced, and the guys were immediately attacked by Todo, who was not visible at the start. Itadori took it upon himself, and like a huskar, Itadori absorbed the damage and became stronger. And when asked about women, he replied that he likes tall women with big nuts, like Jennifer Lawrence. Even Todo was shocked by this answer, since he finally met a person close to him in spirit, and Todo now considers Itadori his brother. And in his world in his head, Todo even made up that Itadori and Takada study with him in the same class. Then, unexpectedly, the rest of the Kyoto students began to attack Itadori. Mei attacked him with rubber bullets, blue-haired Maiwa wanted to make a beer snack out of him, Mekamaru simply attacked, but Itadori dodged everything. Kamo Noritoshi also targeted him, but Todo switched places with Itadori with his technique. Todo said that he warned that he would destroy anyone who interfered with him. As a result, the Kyoto students left Itadori for Todo, but he replied that everything would depend only on Itadori. However, Todo will give it his all against his best friend. Immediately after this, the Kyoto students were attacked by the Tokyoites, as they in both teams noticed that the Kyoto students were heading towards Itadori as one team, and they realized that he was their target. However, Kyoto students do this without even knowing what Itadori really is. Therefore, Maki's team said that they would need to return to Itadori, because what was the point of victory if their comrade went to another world? The Panda team made a similar decision. As a result, Kujisaki took on Momo. The Panda began to fight Mekamaru. Maki took on the blue-haired Maiwa and subsequently her sister Mai. Fushiguro began to fight Kamo, and Todo and Itadori continued their fight. As a result of the fight between the Panda and Mahamaru, it turned out that the Panda is a cursed inanimate body and a masterpiece of the puppet master director Yaga, and inside it there are 3 cores, which are called the hearts of the puppets. And Mekamaru is a magician from birth without arms and legs below the knees, but he possesses cursed ranged combat techniques and has a huge reserve of energy. In the fight, the Panda showed Mekamaru his panda, gorilla, and shy sister forms and won. The Panda then went to make the usual curses. Next, we were shown a room from where the teachers were watching the event through the ravens. There, Satoru immediately realized that something was wrong with Itadori, as his crow only showed up for a couple of seconds. Well, right there Todo and Itadori continued to fight hard, and after using the Divergent Fist, which gives Itadori an additional blow of cursed energy, coming immediately after the usual blow. However, according to Todo, this is the wrong technique, and he shouted about it to the entire battlefield. This cry was heard by Maki and the blue-haired girl, whom Maki then defeated and took the katana from her. We were also shown a fragment where Mei talks about Maki. It turned out that Mei was offended by her sister because she did not give up as a child, despite the lack of damned energy. She was strong and left the clan of her own free will, for which the head said that he would interfere in every possible way with Maki and her sister Mei. Meanwhile, in the fight between Momo and Kuchisaki, the first-year student attacked her with nails in order to then tear out a branch from her broom and use the voodoo technique to turn off her brew and throw it to the ground. However, when she was about to knock her out with a toy hammer, Kuchisaki attacked Mai with a rubber bullet, knocking her unconscious. Well, Maki came to Mai herself and attacked her sister. Now Maki is at the 4th level, since her clan interferes with her in every possible way, but in terms of strength, she is approximately at the 2nd or even pre-1st level. Maki also apologized to her sister for abandoning her as a child, since if she had stayed there, she would have hated herself. As a result, Mei, Kujisaki, and Mekamaru dropped out of the competition. In the fight between Itadori and Todo, Todo continued to insult his best friend for wanting to become a weakling, because his hands will never outrun his eyes. Due to this, Itadori began to change his style and began to use the cursed energy on his entire body, and they continued to fight at full strength. Meanwhile, in the battle between Kamo and Fushiguro, where Kamo, with the help of red liquid, can control objects and attack with them. Well, Fushiguro distracts Kamo so that at the same time Inumaki finds Mekamaru's phone and uses it to knock out the opponents. Blue-haired Maiwa was the first to fall under the spell and lost consciousness. The old grandfather tells Kamo about the spirit who will be the main target. It turned out that he would not be of the 2nd level, but of pre-1st level. This spirit is also trained to use a whistle and a liquid that can be used to mark people, and the spirit will hunt for them. And Grandpa prepared all this to destroy Itadori. However, it turned out that Hanami destroyed this curse without any problems, appearing in front of Inumaki. Also appearing on the field were Mahito and Juzo, who summoned a screen against Satoru. Well, in the teacher's office, all the curse marks turned red, which means that the curses were destroyed by an unknown energy. In theory, this is the color of the Tokyo team, and it also reacts to unknown energy. This was made specifically for Maki. But the teachers realized that the Tokyo team could not do this, so Satoru, along with Yori and the old grandfather, went to the students. However, Satoru could not enter the barrier, so the teacher and grandfather went inside, and Satoru remained outside and began to think about what he should do. When they went inside, they met Juzo, who was taken over by his grandfather, and Yori moved on. At the same time, Fushiguro against Kamo summoned an elephant and threw it out into the street, where they saw Inumaki running away from Hanami's roots, and Fushiguro told the guys the information received from Satoru about a special level curse. It also turned out that Hanami can cast a spell on plants, and his goal is to return the world to a time when there were no people, so that people would not harm nature. In this regard, Fushiguro wanted to call the teacher, but Hanami did not allow him to do this. After which the guys decided to use Inumaki's spellcasters to stop the roots, and then attack the spirit, and thus get to the edge of the veil. But Inumaki didn't last long, but finally he managed to powerfully throw away the curse, but since it was covered with strong armor, they couldn't even scratch it. Then Maki appeared and broke blue-haired Maiwa's katana on Hanami, and then summoning weapons for themselves, he and Fushiguro began to attack the curse. Well, the items here are also divided into 4 levels, and in addition, a special level. Also, due to the fact that Fushiguro lost his Shikigami in other battles, their power connected with the Black Hound and turned it into a chimera, which was even able to damage Hanami's strong arm. At the same time, the damaged Kamo and Inumaki were taken over by Momo, who had restored her broom. Fushiguro caught a plant that consumes energy with his stomach, and Maki was defeated. But a panda appeared and picked up the guys, and then left with them. Then friends Itadori and Todo joined this battle. Itadori immediately began to find out whether this curse was connected with the patchwork. It also turned out that Todo taught Itadori the Black Lightning technique. This technique takes a lot of energy, and many magicians can use it no more than once or twice a day. Black Lightning is a product of cursed energy when it is transferred into a strike in just 1/1,000,000th of a second. Itadori was able to use this technique and damaged his hand with the curse, but Hanami immediately recovered. And Todo waited all this time because he set a condition. If Itadori makes Black Lightning, then he will help him with this plant. And now, since Todo is joining the battle, he asked Itadori to trust him. But unexpectedly, Hanami grabs Todo and throws him onto the created spikes. But Todo switches places between himself and Hanami, and the curse stumbles upon its own trap. Todo also uses claps to distract attention, and he and Itadori began to attack the spirit. In the battle, Itadori used Black Lightning 4 times in a row, which surprised even Todo. But Hanami survived these attacks and began to attack with spores, which struck Fushiguro. However, Todo, with his 30,000 IQ, realized that the spores live off the cursed energy, and he stopped using it, which is why the spores did not affect him. Afterwards, they continued to attack the spirit, and little by little, they returned to the place where the special level weapon remained. Todo was informed about this by the departing Fushiguro. However, even Todo with the cursed weapon could not defeat the spirit. After which Hanami opened his left black hand, which had a flower on his shoulder, and the spirit began to suck energy from the plants into the flower. And in order not to miss with the flower shot, he decided to use his territory expansion. However, in the next moment, the veil was destroyed, and it was Satoru Gojo who did it. And now, seeing what was happening, Satoru assessed the situation and decided to help the old man first. He went down to Juzo and damaged his limbs so that he could interrogate him later. At the same time, Yori was attacked by Haruta. Let's hope that this is not Boruto's future son. Also, Kujisaki and Mei, who had come to their senses, joined this battle. But Haruta, seeing the curtain removed, quickly ran away. Next, Satoru aimed at Hanami and attacked him from a distance with a purple technique. And from this force, the guys did not even understand what happened to the spirit, whether he survived or not. And at this time, Mahito made his way into the Tenjin storage with 1,000 doors, and using the remainder of his chakra left by Gido on the finger from Yoshino's apartment, hidden under 2 seals, Mahito found the right door and stole 6 fingers of Sukan. He also grabbed the damned relics of 3 embryos of the death picture of the Kemo clan. Hanami also survived, and it turned out that they passed here underground. As a result, the spirits successfully implemented their plan. They left Satoru outside the barrier so that his goal would be to get into the barrier, and therefore he did not notice Mahito. And they did not take Itadori hostage, since it was a slow-acting TNT for both magicians and curses. And now in his there is no point in taking over. They will do it after October 31st. Meanwhile, the college counted its losses, and 6 fingers of Sukan and 3 cursed relics were stolen, 3 second level and 1 pre-first level magicians, 5 assistant wardens, and 2 guards were injured. Also, the school management decided not to tell students about the missing relics. Well, from Juzo's interrogation, they learned that he had a deal with the blonde monk Uram. Yaga suggested canceling the exchange program, but Satoru let the students make a choice, and by chance, Itadori pulled out a baseball game, where through the game the personalities of the characters were revealed to us a little. Fushiguro was willing to sacrifice his points to win, and Itadori hit a home run. Next, Itadori, Fushiguro, Kujisaki, and Nitakari went to investigate strange departures into another world of people at different times, and they were all connected with electronic locks in their houses. They began to look for a connection between those who had passed on from their lives, and it turned out that all these people studied at the same high school, which turned out to be Fushiguro's school. They also found a man who knew all three, but he also suffered the same fate. After visiting the school, they found out from local students about the Yasashi Bridge, or the Bridge of Self-Destruction. Also there, a local Takeda employee told the story that all four of these people were once found unconscious under this bridge. Also there, the guys learned that Fushiguro has an older sister. Meanwhile, Mahito created 3 cursed brothers of the vessel from the cursed objects. Well, the guys visited the bridge, but found nothing there. Itadori even managed to jump from a bridge on a makeshift bungee. Next, one of the students brought to them his sister Fujinuma, who studied with Fushiguro and communicated with his sister Tsumiki. She told about the test under the bridge, in which Tsumiki also participated. Upon learning this, Fushiguro began to worry and went away to call Ajiki and ask him to send a high-ranking magician to his sister for protection. Fushiguro thinks that the curse will come for his sister, who is now unconscious due to the fact that an unknown curse was placed on her, and now no one can determine it and cannot remove it, so she is in a coma. Now Fushiguro had a choice: stay here or go to his sister, since there are no magicians available to protect him. As a result, Fushiguro skillfully sends the guys out along with Nita, and under the pretext of talking with Takeda from school, he goes under the bridge to find and banish the curse, which is possibly connected with Tsumiki. However, Kujisaki and Itadori still followed Fushiguro, and there he told them everything about his sister. Nita told the guys that there might be a curse under the bridge. To find him, they need to cross a small river under a bridge at night, so they will cross the border of the afterlife. He learned all this from Fujinuma. When they jumped over the stream, an unfinished expanded area appeared, similar to the one in the prison. There were several curses from the finger of Sukuna, Aka the mole who created the territory, and the curse from the man Kechizu. Then, as usual, Kujisaki was again dragged into the portal. It was Iso, the cursed vessel, Kechizu's brother, and he has a complex because of his back, and he destroys everyone who saw it. Next, Kechizu also ran into the portal and Itadori went after him, and Fushiguro took on the remaining curse. As a result, Fushiguro began to shred the curse, but after destroying the last head, the expanded territory did not disappear, and suddenly the curse of Sukuna's finger appeared, with a similar one they fought in prison. The finger began to attack Fushiguro. At the same time, he remembered training with Satoru in order to catch up with Itadori's strength. It turned out that Satoru believes that Fushiguro is inferior in level to Itadori, since he does not give 100%, unlike Itadori, who, using the example of baseball, always strives to hit a home run. So Satoru advised Fushiguro to imagine himself in the future, surpassing himself present. In this connection, Fushiguro used his expansion of the territory as an approximate shadow garden. However, the spirit was able to destroy the technique, but Fushiguro summoned his Shikigami Chimera and tore his finger out of the chest of the curse. Thereby, Fushiguro won, and the territory of the curse disappeared. Next, they showed memories from which we learned that Tsumiki is Fushiguro's older half-sister. And we were also told that as a child, my father sold Fushiguro to the Zenin clan and ran away with the money. But then the boy was helped by Satoru, who intervened in this situation and got the boy into a magic college so that he would receive an allowance. And when Fushiguro was in 9th grade, Tsumiki was struck by an unknown curse, after which Fushiguro simply fell asleep with his finger in his hands. In parallel, after the victory, Fushiguro, Kujisaki, and Iso felt the energy of the finger. Iso said that their mission did not specify to destroy the magicians, so he would simply follow the finger. However, the next moment, Kechizu and Itadori appeared behind him and saw his back, causing Eso to say that he would destroy Itadori. But while he was distracted, Kujisaki attacked him with a hammer. In response, the Damned One cut down the winged rotting technique from Diablo, and he began to attack the guys with his red liquid. However, Itadori used the speed of the flash and, taking Kujisaki in his arms, ran to the bridge. But Kichizu caught up with them without any problems and burned Itadori and Kujisaki with his red liquid. Aso immediately explained that when their red liquid gets on a person through pores or wounds, after activating the rotting technique, Itadori would have to be destroyed in 15 minutes and Kujisaki in 10, and in the morning there would be nothing left of them. Then we were told the story of the appearance of cursed fetal artifacts, where in the time of Meiji there lived a girl who had given birth to a child from a cursed spirit, and she did not even understand how she became pregnant, but her family criticized her greatly, and she ran away with the body of the child and went to the temple, where Noritoshi of the Kamo clan lived. But there she failed, since this magician was a freak, and he began to conduct experiments on her to conceive children from the damned. There were 9 conceptions and 9 miscarriages in total, but all records of the experiments were burned, and cursed fruits 1 to 3 became cursed objects of a special level, and the source of their power was most likely the resentment of their mother. As a result, these were the very objects that Mahito implanted in people. And it turned out that there were 3 brothers, Kichizu, Iso, and the 3rd brother Choso, who at that time was with Gido and Mahito. Next, we were returned to the battlefield, where Kujisaki used the voodoo resonance technique on her hand and the red liquid of the damned, and began to damage her hand with nails, thereby causing damage to the damned. But Iso realized that her technique most likely would not destroy them. They just needed to survive the girl. However, at the next moment, Itadori joins, who was not particularly affected by the poison of their red liquid, since Sukuna is the king of not only curses, but also poisons, and Itadori now has immunity, and therefore Itadori began to powerfully attack Kichizu. And when Aso decided to intervene, Itadori took over, and Kujisaki switched to Kichizu. And when his little brother was already on the verge of destruction, Aso canceled the rotting technique. However, Kujisaki pierced Kichizu with her new technique with a hairpin, and at that time Itadori pierced Iso with black lightning. As a result, they destroyed Kichizu, and Isa managed to grab onto a randomly passing pickup truck. But Itadori ran after the car, and Kujisaki again used her voodoo technique and damaged Iso, causing him to fall off the pickup truck. Then Itadori met him with an attack and destroyed him. Well, the 3rd brother Choso immediately felt the loss of his brothers, and Gido immediately received information from someone that this was done by first-year students of a Tokyo college. Also, in parallel with this, Nida, without getting through to the guys, decided to look for them near the bridge. At this time, Itadori and Kujisaki, while walking to Fushiguro, talked about their first destruction of people. Next, they found Fushiguro, who woke up and said that he was glad to see them. After which Fushiguro decided to give the finger to Itadori as a whole, but he categorically insisted that Itadori hand it over to the directorate. However, when Itadori was about to take it, Sukuna's mouth appeared on his hand and swallowed his finger. Afterwards, Nida found them and covered them with a 3-story mat because they did not answer. Next, we were shown Satoru, who, in a conversation with Saori, said that cursed objects were found in the cursed brothers Iso and Kichizu. He is also sincerely proud that his students were able to deal with spirits of a special level, and it seems to me that Satoru really wants to stick his magic wand into Yor, after which he transferred 10 million for Mai. In the end, it turned out that Maimi and Toto were nominated for the first level of students, since anyone who was not involved in training these students can nominate magicians for promotion. As a result, they nominated Zenin Maki, the panda Megumi Fushiguro, Nobara Kujisaki, and Toto's brother Yuji Itadori for promotion. Meanwhile, the guys were buying clothes and received a call from Satoru, who invited them to his place to carry out a top-secret mission. If you want to continue, then write about it in the comments.